formally open our program, it is my privilege to invite our very own Center Director of Innotech, a passionate educator and leader, Dr. Majah-Leah V. Ravago. Ma'am.
To our distinguished guest, Director Marianne Santos of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Mr. Jose Paolo Soliman of City Savings Bank, together with Attorney Rookie, also from City Savings Bank, Ms. Rellie Cometa from Arkong Bato National High School, our panelist, Mr. Joseph Anthony Medina of the Metro Bank Foundation, Inc. To our officials here at Innotech, Deputy Director Kochakorn, who is joining us online, Robbie, Dads, Chris, and Pichi. Of course, to the teachers present with us here today. Happy Teachers Day, Happy Teachers Month to all of us. To our partners and colleagues in education, welcome to our Innotech Seminar Series. Thank you for joining us in our celebration of the National Teachers Day here in the Philippines. So at Innotech, our mission is clear. We are a catalyst of innovation and technology transforming Southeast Asian education. By 2035, our vision is to be a leading force in shaping learners into the change makers of tomorrow. Today's seminar is a step toward that vision. Our theme, From Knowledge to Impact, transforming teachers' financial literacy into learner empowerment. It speaks to an urgent and often overlooked dimension of teacher development. Teaching is not only about transmitting academic knowledge. It is also about preparing learners with the life skills necessary to navigate an increasingly complex world. Financial literacy, traditionally seen as a personal matter, is now increasingly recognized as an important skill that can support both teachers and their students in their everyday decisions. The data underscores this need. In Southeast Asia, more than 13 million teachers serve over 300 learners. Yet, international studies reveal persistent gaps in financial knowledge. The Standard & Poor's Global Financial Literacy Survey in 2014 found that here in the Philippines, 25% of Filipino adults are financially literate, placing the Philippines near the bottom among our peers in Asia. This is why today's program is both timely and relevant. Later, I will begin by sharing our study on examining the financial literacy of teachers in the Philippines, which hopefully will provide a valuable evidence base for our discussions. We are also grateful to the panel of experts from the education sector and financial institutions who will be providing their perspectives from their own fields. Their insights will guide us in reimagining financial literacy as part of teacher professional development and classroom practice, ensuring that empowered teachers become champions of empowered learners. As we celebrate National Teachers Month, let this seminar be both a recognition of our teachers and a call to action. Together, let us transform knowledge into impact, empowering teachers, empowering learners. Maraming salamat at nakikiisa kami sa pag-celebrate ng National Teachers Month. And as we always say here at Innotech, together, let us drive innovation for education.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming no less than our Center Director, Dr. Majah-Leah V. Ravago, to present her paper on unlocking teachers' financial literacy, a comparative study with non-teaching adults. Ma'am.
Okay, this idea actually came about early in February when I was at the Metro Bank Foundation celebration. So, and Rookie was also there. And there is this discussion about the kind of financial literacy among teachers and why teachers do have a lot of debt. So hence the idea, as we join the celebration of this National Teachers Month, to have this discussion, since we have this paper anyway. So this is a paper in collaboration with faculty also from the Ateneo de Manila University, Economics Department, Dr. Magante, and researchers from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Dr. Faith Cacnyo, Simon, and Marie-Leah V. And the project is really came about from the cooperation between Ateneo and the BSP of more on having a collaboration on doing economic research related to, of course, everything under the objective of BSP. So it's called the BSP Ateneo Visiting Researcher Economist Program. So hence we have this study. Okay. So, as context and introduction, I do not need to elaborate more on the financial literacy. It has already been said earlier. But what is important is the role of teachers in promoting financial literacy. Teachers, okay, regardless of all the subject matter, they are critical agents of financial socialization. More often, they are also better equipped than parents to teach financial concepts, right? And training teachers enhances their effectiveness in teaching students. So there is really a lot of role for teachers. Hence, it's really important to know, okay, that teachers should be more financially literate, right, than the average or the general population because we rely so much on them. So our research question in this paper is, what factors determine the financial literacy of teachers? And most importantly, are teachers more financially literate than the general population? Why are we doing this study? So there is a gap in research on financial literacy in developing country. If you scan the literature, most of the studies are geared on developed countries. So why is it important? Developing country versus developed country, income are different, institutions are different, conditions are different. So we want to know whether, teachers in developing country like the Philippines are more financially literate than the general population. And we also note that financial education should start at a young age to produce financially responsible and knowledgeable adults. Like we have this Ambition 2040, right? We want to have a maginhawa, panatag, and tama ba ako? Maginhawa, panatag, and payapang buhay, right? And part of that is having their own house daw, being able to travel, having a car. So it's all part of, are we able to save for our future, right? So increased financial literacy among teachers also contribute to their increase in their well-being of the teachers themselves. Okay, so addressing these gaps, both in the literature and going down to the Philippines, okay, addressing this gap in financial literacy, we want to introduce basic and more sophisticated concept among Filipino adults because, of course, the children will become adults, right? And this may aid in increasing the demand and uptake for more complex financial products and services beyond having deposit or savings account. So it's good for our BSP and for our bankers here, right? If you are more financially literate, you are likely to use yung ating mga debit card. So right now, all these products are expanded, right? You have GCash card, and then this time we are going through fintech. So meaning to say, sometimes it's scary to use the online banking system, right? So very important that we are financially literate. And more often, it starts in the classroom, right? So, okay, so as we scan the literature, when we are developing these studies, we found that there is this 5 pillars of financial literacy in studies in the developed country. So what are those 5 pillars that would determine whether an individual would be financially literate? First is this earning. Earning refers to the understanding employment's compensation and benefits. So who among us are opening our yung ating, anong tawag natin dito? Yung ating compensation na payslip. Are you opening your payslip or you're just looking at your bank account when it comes? So sino talaga? Who's opening our payslip? Oh, bakit konti lang? Di ba in our payslip? Di ba that's very important because you will see whether the SSS or GSIS is properly deducted, pag-ibig is properly deducted. So that's part of our financial literacy. Please be mindful, okay? And then spending, okay? Getting the best value on purchases by comparing options. That's also a pillar of financial literacy. Whether you can determine your needs from your wants. Sometimes naku-confuse natin, I want this, so I need this. Kailangan natin ng mga Rolex at Patek, so I will buy. Okay, so yun yung mga ganyan example, okay? Savings and investing, okay? Safeguarding a person's future through investment. So sino yung sa atin ang merong more than deposit account, may mga investment? Ayan, matutuwa ang BSP. Nakikita niyang maraming nagtataas ng kamay. So ito yung more than the time deposit. Marami na ngayong mutual funds. So I hope we know those. And then meron na ding mga bagong products like the pera, di ba? Yung personal, early retirement. Alam ba natin yon? And that would give you a tax credit. No? Mababawas yun sa binabayad nating tax. That's also very important. Borrowing, building credit, and preparing for big purchases. So if you're planning to get a car, dahil mas traffic na ngayon, pero dapat yung can withstand flooding ng mga car, di ba? So yan yun, no? We want to have that para hindi na tayo sasakay ng MRT and very affordable na ngayon yung terms ng mga kotse. So that's part of that, okay? Borrowing and protecting. Protection from emergencies like today. Maulan, di ba? And then, of course, our heart goes to our kababayan sa Cebu. No, that's part of that, yung protection from emergencies. That's why it's very important that we look at our payslip. Yung protection from emergencies, SSS, you can get calamity fund. GSIS, you can get calamity fund. Pag-ibig also, di ba? We've learned a lot from our experience sa disaster. During when we have the ondoy, na wash out ang inyong mga ID, ang hirap makautang. Okay? Yung ating mga kagababayan, especially in the Visayas. But this time, we learned from those experience, mas madali na daw. So I hope totoo. Okay? So again, these are the 5 pillars of financial literacy that when we scan the literature, we found this. But other question is, what shades financial literacy? Again, based from the literature, first would be parents. Okay? So sino sa inyo yung before kinder, during Christmas, right? Namamasko tayo. I'm sure namamasko tayong lahat ng bata tayo. But there are parents, okay, who would not take the pamasko of their kids, but would take their kids to the bank. That's one initial exposure to savings. If you're a parent, wag mong pagbili ka agad, sige, bigyan mo naman ng pambili ng ice cream, yung anak mo, right? But more important is that you expose them. This time, ang exposure na ng mga bata, meron ng GCash account. Medyo delikado lang kasi madaling bumili sa Lazada at Shopee. But still, right, you're already exposing your kids to how to manage their finances. Or kahit hindi sa bank, kahit yung alkansya. Nung bata ako, alkansya lang ako. And I have a goal. At least your savings, kahit na konti lang. Right? Age, of course, the age of an individual, marital status. Kung single ka, mas magsasave ka. Di ba? Kung dalawa kayo, joint naman yan. Merong economies of scale sa savings. Okay? Of course, education matters. Networks. So your friends, who your friends are, will also influence, right? Kung ang kaibigan mo, sabi na mag-save tayo, let's go to Europe, magsasave ka. Di ba? Or mag-save tayo for our retirement home, magsasave ka rin. Right? Media. Okay? Increasingly, this is not just traditional media. This is all forms of media like TikTok, Facebook. Right? So, yung mga reels na nakikita natin. So, sa Innotech, we also have our own reels. Maybe we can develop one. We also see reels from BSP and other banks, promoting how to save. Because nowadays, mas madali mong makita because lahat tayo maraming screen time sa Facebook. Wag nang mag-deny. Di ba? So, that's one source of this information. Okay? So, to answer our question, we use these 3 sets of data. We had secondary data sources and we also had primary data. So, this one was a survey done in 2014. This is actually a Metrobank survey that was commissioned actually by the Metrobank Foundation. But the idea here in 2014 is to look at the effect of the awards for teachers, whether it contributed to their well-being. That award was for the Search for Outstanding Teachers Award, na ngayon nag-lump na together in one. Tama ba sa Metrobank? So that was in 2014. But we had a foresight then. I did that paper together with the national statistician, Dennis Mapa. We had a foresight then that we include questions similar to the consumer finance survey. Because after the study on evaluating the impact of the award, we wanted to do whether this kind of question, whether the teacher are more financially literate than the average population. But other work got in the way. It took us some time. And then the BSP program came in, and we had that discussion. Okay, we had this data from 2018. Let's do another round of survey. But this time, the survey really focuses, the objective is to evaluate the literacy level of teachers. Okay, so we did that in 2022. So we just came out from the pandemic. Hence, we had to do the survey online because it's still, the Philippines had the longest lockdown. So we were still very careful back then. And the survey then undergo the ethics review. And at that time, the ethics board do not want any face-to-face interview. Hence, we had to really resort on online survey. And then, so these two surveys, because it's teachers, although it's not a panel, because we cannot follow the same individual, but we are after the average, okay? So so that we can compare the average literacy back in 2014, compare that with the teachers' financial literacy in 2022. And then, as I've said, the questions here were patterned, the rider questions. The rider questions on financial literacy, we took that out from the consumer finance survey. And then this one, because this is really for financial literacy, it covers more questions than what we had here in 2014. And then this one is not only for teachers. That's why using this data, we will be able to compare the literacy of teachers versus the general population in the Philippines. So that's the idea. Okay. So, the survey that we did, so this is in 2020, follows the framework of Houston and OECD. Means say we had questions that explore financial attitudes, behaviors, and knowledge of teachers. Okay, so the questions include assessing financial knowledge to evaluate their ability to identify correct responses regarding risk diversification. Ito yung medyo mahirap. Okay? Compounding interest, kasali yan, simple interest, insurance, and inflation. Okay? So this segment was the one that we added to the 2014 survey that we did. And of course, I said earlier, the survey, because it asked questions among the teachers, it has to undergo review from the ethics, university research ethics from Ateneo. And then we had endorsement from DepEd. So, si Dads pa yung nag-endorse, di ba? One of the officials here at Innotech. And then also from CHED, endorsing the participation of teachers to our survey. But again, in all of this survey, everything is voluntary and optional. And of course, we have to protect the identity of the respondents. Okay? Again, to answer our research question, are teachers more financially literate, and what are the factors influencing financial literacy? We have to create an index from all those questions that we had in the survey, what we call the financial literacy index, to assess individuals' financial knowledge and behavior. And then the second part would answer the second question, analyze the drivers of literacy. We do this by a very simple ordinary least squares regression, okay? To be able to identify what are the factors influencing literacy among teachers. Now, first is to construct the financial literacy index, right? So in the questionnaire, so both in the 2014 and the 2022, we have those, as I've said, we added more questions, right? that the 2022 questions able to capture this financial knowledge element. Okay, so what they know, understanding of concepts like interest and inflation. And then in both survey, 2014 and 2022, it captures the attitudes, what people think. Okay, that's one dimension. How do you feel about money? How do you feel about savings? Several questions, okay? Some questions would be binary, meaning to say yes or no. Some questions, we would provide them with a scale, okay? And then financial behavior, the management of finances. What they do, what an individual do, what the respondent do, okay? And then we have two kind of index. So this financial attitude, financial behavior, financial knowledge, and then the second one, capturing the 5 pillars. Okay? Financial competencies, what I showed earlier from the literature, earning, spending, saving, borrowing. So this one refers to all those questions. The answer of those, the respondents to the questions, I refers to the individual. Summing them all up, and each of those questions will have equal weights. And then the financial literacy index would be valued from 0 to 1. So an individual having the highest score in this index would be relatively more financially literate relative to those who get the lower scores. So that's how we created that index. So there are these 3 elements, FA, FK, and FB, referring to attitude, knowledge, and behavior. And then the 5 pillars representing the financial competencies. So we will be using those indices for robustness. Okay? And then the method for identifying what factors influence financial literacy. So in this case, we are looking for patterns between financial literacy scores and the different factors. So this allows us to identify which factors explain why some teachers scores higher, meaning why are they relatively more financial literate than the other teachers, and why teachers may or may not be financially literate than the average population. So this is just the index. So for those of you who have taken elementary statistics, so these are the predictors explaining why the scores are higher or lower. Okay, so the excess here, this would be those predictors that would include socioeconomic variables, whether the teacher teaches in a public or private institutions, whether the teaching, whether they are teaching at the primary or secondary or tertiary level. And then we all have other control variables represented by Z here, that includes the region of residence of the teacher and some households characteristics, because those are also included in the survey. Okay. Again, we protected the identity of the respondents. Saan ko ba ito itatapat? Okay, so here are some of the results. We're comparing the survey from the 2014 and from 2022. So the blue one refers to 2014 and the yellow one refers to 2022. Again, in this survey, the only comparable questions would be the financial attitude and financial behavior. So as we can see from the results, comparing teachers in the region, because we cannot compare individual, we did not do a panel data. Okay, so we can compare teachers on average across region between the 2 time periods. Northern Mindanao ranked highest and Caraga ranked lowest. In 2022, Central Visayas moved to the top and BARM ranked lowest by this measure of financial literacy according to attitude and behavior. Okay? And then, using the 5 pillars of competency, we have here again, 2014 is the blue bar and 2022 is the yellow bar. CAR here has the most financially literate. No? So this is focused on teachers. Okay, and in 2022, it changes. Davao region and figures prominently, and Central Visayas scored second. They scored the highest. Okay, so comparing that by 5 pillars. Now, comparing financial literacy, okay, depending on whether they're primary, secondary, or tertiary teachers. So what we see here, let me know if this is as you expected. Okay, college teachers are more financially literate than primary or secondary using the two indices. Okay, so this one uses the attitude and behavior, and this one uses the 5 pillars. But more or less, the same result regardless of the index that we use. Okay, so college teachers are more financially literate. Now, comparing private school teachers versus public school teachers. Note here that this is not here. The blue bar refers to the index, the FA and the FB, the attitude and the behavior, and the yellow bar refers to the 5 pillars. So what do we see here? Private school teachers score slightly higher than the public school teachers. So again, tell me if this is what you expect. Just comparing, no, the indices, the scores. We're just comparing the scores based on the constructed index. Okay, and then when we compare by income quantile, meaning quantile, you're dividing the income into 5. Okay, and then the first quantile would be the lower income households, but this is teacher. And then the fifth quantile would be the more or less higher income group among teachers. So, as expected, okay, teachers with higher household income, they belong to a high-income household family, score higher on financial literacy. This one is expected because it's kind of learning by doing. You have more funds than you think about how to manage the funds, right? And you are also more exposed. Okay, so this one is expected. Okay, so, okay, let's see. Ayaw na. Okay, itong determinant. So this is the part where we're trying to know what factors influence financial literacy. So this is very simple, OLS. Okay, association of what the predictor, the excess in the left-hand side, and then the financial literacy on the right-hand side. So meaning to say, we have this, in this case, we now combine the attitude, behavior, and knowledge. So that is our index. And then the other index is again the 5 pillars. But note that, so in the results, what determines? So based from the figure that we showed earlier, household income or household expense. They are, it's like checking the other, because the flip side of income is expenses. And people tend to report accurately, more accurately, not very accurate, but more accurately our expenses. Okay, because if you report your income, sometimes there is a fear that the BIR will be after them. So for robustness check, in surveys like this, we have to show whether we use income or expense, the results would be the same. So because it's just a proxy for income. But nonetheless, the results are significant and consistent that income or expenses do play a positive role in our financial literacy level. So this is among teachers. Another significant finding here is that whether the proportion of the household members where the teacher belong, okay, have a higher educational level, tertiary, educated, and above. And another one, interesting finding here is the ownership of information assets. Meaning to say, TV, radio, maybe tablet, because you have information. So ownership of that is a proxy for access to those information. Access to those informations means say you are also able to imbibe and practice the information that you get. So it contributes to having a higher financial literacy. And then another one would be this one. So this finding, the previous slide, is from 2014. And then this finding is from 2022. Please, next. Okay, this finding from 2022, also based on the educational attainment. So the higher the educational attainment, the more it contributes to the higher scores of financial literacy. So this is using 2022 survey, so the online survey that we did. And then, So what are we getting? What are we getting from these results? So financial literacy is positively linked to household income or expenses, more household members with college education, and those who are owning 2 or more information assets. Okay? Now going to the 2014 survey, do we observe a different results? So in terms of income and expenses, the same pa rin. Okay? So meaning to say this is robust. Okay, the higher the income, the more you are likely to be financially literate. Okay, but some other explanation have changed. So here we see that where you are teaching, the level where you are teaching, if you are a teachers, also matters. Back in 2014. So here, whether you're the higher the level of the education that you are teaching, you also scored higher in the financial literacy index. Okay, so that is in 2014. And then another finding in 2014 is that from here, we are getting that a household's overall financial status proxied by income or expense significantly increases the financial literacy of a teacher. Educational attainment of teachers surveyed has a positive, significant relationship on their financial literacy indices. And there is also a positive and significant relation between the financial literacy and the proportion of their household members. So this is important, who have at least tertiary level of education. So meaning to say merong spillover, kahit hindi lahat nakapag-aral, no? But if there are more, then the more the better. Because there are spillover in terms of knowledge. Okay? And then there is also a positive and significant relation between ownership of information assets and financial literacy. So we can encourage this time, yung mga tablets, marami na ring affordable. And that contributes to our financial literacy. Now to answer the second question, right? The second question, are the teachers financially literate than the general population? Okay, and just by comparing using the index, yes. So that's good news, di ba? For both measures, so this one, the blue refers to the measures of financial attitude and behavior. So this time we combine the two data sets, okay, 2014 and then the 2022. And then the yellow bar refers to the 5 pillars. Okay, so here, you're comparing these teachers, blue one, and non-teachers. And here we see that the financial literacy scores of teachers is higher than the general population. And the same with the other index using the 5 pillars. So this is good news for the teachers. Yay, right? Okay, so here is the, and then going deeper into the analysis, we get that too, no? Not just by comparing the index. So income is still positive here, and what's shaping or what influences the financial literacy. So we still get the same results, no? But the more important here, the proportion of household members, so it supports the finding earlier. Okay, so here is very important, whether the respondent is a teacher or not, so higher, kasi positive yung ating coefficient. So meaning to say, it supports the earlier graph that teachers do have higher financial literacy than the average population. Because this data uses now the data with the Consumer Financial Survey. So it's not only the 2022 and the 2014 survey focuses only on teachers. Respondents are only teachers. So this time, we have this additional variable because the data is combined with the Consumer Finance Survey. So we are able to compare and differentiate who are teachers and non-teachers. So based on that, the constructed index, it is supported by a bigger data that teachers do in the Philippines. Okay, they have higher financial literacy. But, okay, so we established that, right? Teachers do have higher financial literacy. Their dual role as household financial actors, so they have that dual role in their household, right? They are the financial actors, and in school, they are also educators. So this is good news. But there is this paradox. Okay, while teachers have higher financial literacy, they are also most vulnerable. Why? Because we observed this, that teachers, also sila din yung may mga utang. Tama ba? Okay, many teachers, so this is supported by data, many teachers remain financially vulnerable due to high indebtedness. So hopefully, our panel can glean, no? Because the objective of the paper is to determine the financial literacy level. And then as we get this, we are confronted by this paradox. And this is a good also follow-up study in this in the paper that we did. So having facing this paradox, we are recommending that probably we need a dual approach in this regard. We need to enhance financial education with behavioral tools and debt management strategies. It's not enough that we know. We have to practice. Okay? And then we also probably need to identify and then address those systemic barriers, probably through regulation. That's why we have BSP here. Low-cost services, so we have representatives from the banking sector, and teacher professional development. So we'll hear later from our teacher. Okay? So some key takeaway. Teachers consistently demonstrate higher financial literacy than general population. They are essential conduits for financial knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors, not only for this generation, because we will be imparting this to the next generation. However, higher financial literacy does not guarantee financial well-being. Okay? Structural issues like debt and compensation must be addressed. Okay? Supporting teachers' financial well-being contributes to broader financial inclusion and more financially resilient society. And as a last slide, some recommendation, maybe there is a need to strengthen financial education. While we acknowledge that teachers are more financially literate, it has to translate in practice. Okay? Embedding financial wellness in teacher training. So calling our learning development and also BSP. Okay? Expanding access to fair and low-cost financial services. Calling our friends here from the financial sector. Using media, digital platforms for financial awareness. I think we have our friends from the media who are also tuning in online, right? Addressing structural barriers, compensation, cost of living, family pressures. So we have friends from DepEd and Monitor. This is also very important if we are going to really strengthen our efforts in financial education, monitor and evaluate the impact of those interventions. Okay? So that we can see whether our interventions are doing well or not. So I hope this provide information and setting the tone for our financial panel discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everyone here at the Pearl Hall, as well as to our online viewers tuned in to our live stream via Facebook and YouTube. So, to further enrich our discussion on financial literacy, we are honored to have with us a distinguished panel of experts who will share their perspectives and experiences. Allow me to introduce our panelists. First, Ms. Marianne M. Santos is a seasoned economist and public policy professional with over 25 years of experience in policy formation, financial education, and central banking. She currently serves as Director of the Economic and Financial Learning Office at the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, where she leads the development and implementation of programs that promote economic and financial literacy, strengthen stakeholder partnerships, and expand access to learning resources through innovative platforms. Prior to her current role, she held key leadership positions in BSP, including Deputy Director of the Currency Policy and Integrity Department, and Acting Director of the Currency Issue and Integrity Office, where she directed policy studies, data integrity management, and currency operations. She also spent a decade at the Senate Economic Planning Office, where she provided policy research and technical advice to support legislation on national economic reforms. Ms. Santos holds a master's degree and a diploma in development economics from the University of the Philippines as a Ford Foundation Scholar, and a dual undergraduate degree in economics and commerce from the De La Salle University. A round of applause, please, for Director Santos. Next, we have Mr. Jose Paolo R. Soliman, fondly known as JP. He is the Senior Vice President, Salary and Pension Loans Business Head at City Savings Bank Incorporated, a subsidiary of Union Bank of the Philippines. With nearly 2 decades in banking, he has developed strong expertise in technology banking, credit and loans, deposits, product development, retail and transaction, banking sales, as well as industry and segment development. A graduate of De La Salle University with a degree in behavioral sciences, majoring in organizational systems development, JP is a sought-after speaker at local and international conferences where he shares insights on digital transformation, payments, design thinking, e-commerce, and ecosystem banking. Beyond his corporate role, he serves as board trustee and director for the banking and finance sector of ICSB Philippines and mentors startups and SMEs through the Retail Academy of the Philippines. He also hosts the Golfing Banker on YouTube, blending sports with conversations on business and innovation. Let's give a big hand to Sir JP. And finally, we have Teacher Rellie N Cometa, who is an experienced educator with nearly 2 decades of service in the Department of Education. Since 2005, she has been a permanent Teacher 3 at Arkong Bato National High School, Valenzuela City, specializing in technology and livelihood education, home economics, and computer subjects. She has designed and implemented engaging lessons in food technology, child development, family and consumer sciences, and financial literacy while integrating ICT tools to enhance learning. Beyond teaching, Ms. Cometa has taken on leadership roles as ICT coordinator, TLE coordinator, and advisors to student organizations. She has also served as a resource speaker at division-level events, underscoring her commitment to knowledge sharing and professional growth. Earlier, she gained valuable experience in child development as a teacher aide at the Center for Children's Well-Being. Ms. Cometa holds a BS in Industrial Education, Home Economics, and has completed academic requirements for an MA in Education, majoring in Administration and Supervision. She is also TESDA certified in dressmaking, food and beverage services, and housekeeping. A round of applause, please, for Teacher Rellie. And that completes our panel of experts who will share their insights on how teachers and Filipinos in general can strengthen financial literacy and responsible financial behavior. So allow me to join our panelists for this conversation. But before we dive into the serious stuff, like what we saw earlier, 319 billion in loans, we heard things like deposits and credits and loans. Let's start with something light. Okay? Here's a question to all our panelists and to our audience. Feel free to also reflect on this check-in question. So, imagine that you just found a crumpled 500 peso bill in your pocket or in your bag. So it's 500 pesos that you did not know you had. What would you do with the money? So,
Buti na lang, hindi math yung question, no? You wanna go first?
Director Santos, would you like to go
Hi,
first?
thank you, Reg, for a very comprehensive introduction. So, good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, 500 pesos. Ano bang mabibili ng 500?
Good question also.
But yeah, that's one, But of course, if I'm not gonna have to spend something, I'm gonna put it back on my wallet. And of course, if I don't need to spend on anything, savings account. Yeah. If I'm not gonna spend, then I think I'm gonna save it.
Thank you, Director Santos. Sir JP?
Una, I doubt if that will happen to me because mauunahan ako ng anak ko or ng asawa ko. Right? But if, but that did happen before. Mga naiwan lang.
Like in your
right?
jeans pocket,
But
right?
You don't really do anything immediate eh. You put it back in your pocket. And I mean, 500 pesos now, in today's terms and money, is not something that you would spend time to go back and put it back in an ATM or a bank account or GCash. It stays in your pocket until the time you need it. And good enough that you have money in your bank account that you don't need to withdraw anymore later on. But if you're talking about you found 10,000 pesos in your pocket, that's different.
Yes. What would you do if you found 10,000 pesos in your pocket? Magically.
Diretso sa bar. Joke lang. No, that'll probably be proper. Kasi if you really do your budgeting, alam mo kung saan mo kailangan, kailan mo kailangan.
Right,
So,
down to the last
yeah.
peso. Teacher Rellie.
Good afternoon po. Etong dalawan to, mayayaman kasi to eh. Kaya itatabi lang po nila yung 500. Of course, pagka nakakuha ka or nakapulot ka sa kalsada, tatanong mo muna, wag mong gastusin yun. Kasi baka hindi sa'yo yun, di ba po? Pero kung halimbawa sa bahay, o sa packet, sa bahay, sa atin yun. O kaya sa amin po kasi pag may nakapulot, kanino to? Ipagtatanong po muna, kanino to? Malay mo hindi naman po pala sa akin yun, tapos ginastos ko. Pero seriously speaking po, syempre pag may 500 ka, ang nanay po kasi, nag-iisip kagad ng iba-budget eh. Ay, ang mahal pa naman po ng bigas, di ba po? Ang bigas, ilang kilo na po ng bigas yung 500 na yon, di ba po? Ilang kilo na? 50 pesos. Buti po bumaba na yung bigas, naging 40, may 40 na po. So, ilan na po yon? 20 per kilo. Wala pa pong 20 per kilo. Okay, 9 kilos na po yan, 500. Siguro pag nakapulot po ako bibili po ako ng bigas, bibili na po ako ng ulam. Thanks God. Yun po.
Thank you, Teacher Rellie. So, 9 kilos of rice for the
At least
500
honest
pesos.
yung mga sagot mo, hindi yung i-invest ko.
Yes, right. Very practical. Right. So thank you for those fun and thoughtful reflections to start us off. So now let us shift into the heart of our conversation. So to begin, may I invite each of our panelists to share their key takeaways from the presentation of Dr. Ravago and how these connect with your field of work. Was there something that stood out to you, and how does it resonate with the work that you do? Director Santos, would you like to start?
All right. So first of all, before I start, let me thank, of course, Director Ravago and the team for inviting me here and be a panel with our esteemed panelists, and to discuss the importance of financial literacy and the transformative role of teachers, and of course, to the better change in our educational system. So today's theme resonates deeply with the mission of the BSP. So teachers are the backbone of our educational system, but also key agents of change and shaping the financial attitudes and behaviors, of course, of our future generation. So the findings of the study underscore the unique position of educators in advancing financial literacy. It is encouraging to see that teachers consistently score higher compared to their non-teaching counterparts. This underscores a testament to their dedication for lifelong learning and their ability to translate knowledge into action. So let me show a slide with studies that demonstrate how financial education makes a difference. for instance, sorry, I have to move. So for instance, BSP Financial Inclusion Survey 2021 reveals that 80%, at the right side, 80% of Filipino adults plan ahead financially, but only 46% maintain a budget, underscoring how financial education helps bridge the gap between intention and action. Just like what the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development 2023 survey on adult financial literacy results show at the left side, that financial education training reduces stress related to financial decision making. It also showed that countries with stronger financial education frameworks see reduced vulnerability to debt traps and financial scams. So while, of course, behavioral changes takes time, the long-term benefits of financial education are clear and well documented. So at the BSP, we believe that financial literacy is more than just understanding concepts. It's about fostering financial capability, just like what Dr. Ravago mentioned a while ago, which is the ability to make knowledge into action. So first, of course, they should have the ability to make informed decisions, manage resources effectively, and build resilience against financial shocks, like the last pillar, 5 pillars a while ago. This is why the BSP partnered with the Department of Education to integrate financial education into the K-12 curriculum and to provide training for both teaching and non-teaching personnel. Second, we also developed the BSP e-learning academy, what we call BELA, which is a self-paced and available 24/7 platform to leverage technology and to make financial education accessible, interactive, and impactful. So as we move forward, let us remember that empowering teachers with financial literacy is not just an investment to their well-being, but a multiplier effect that benefits, of course, the students, their families, and the communities. So together, we can build a financially literate and capable nation, one classroom at a time. So thank you, and I look forward to further discussions in this panel.
Thank you, Director Santos, for introducing to us Bella. I'm sure there are more information later on about the BSP e-learning academy. So, Sir JP, anything that resonated with you from the paper presentation earlier?
Nga naman ako, wala akong iPad. Hindi, joke lang. Actually, I love the presentation. I also read through in advance on the paper. And what really resonated was you had the 5 pillars and the behavioral and attitude. No? In my line of work naman kasi, even prior to joining City Savings and managing the salary business, I was doing a lot in the SME side. And in the micro and small medium enterprise side, when we were doing parang financial education, what we noticed was 3 key things, which I think inclusive yung 5 na yun. The first is cash management literacy, which is your inward and outward. Second is your debt management literacy, which goes beyond borrowing within your means, yung mga ganun bagay, right? And the third is your excess funds literacy, which is the investment side. No? If you pattern, what really stood out to me is, ma-apply ko pala yung ginagawa ko dati with what is necessary now for the teachers. And when you look at those kinds of literacy, it's not only about, I'm there to teach you what the concepts are or what it's all about. You have to be there to give the proper tools for them to execute in real life what has been learned. And I've also tried to search kung meron bang any online tools that the teacher can use. You have your own budgeting tools and all that. But if you're not able to really put in front and center that here are the tools you can use, after the classroom session, wala na siya eh. And I guess that's one thing that we can start measuring also. Why is it that, they do have the high literacy indices, ang taas ng knowledge nila on how to manage finances and all that, but it remains to be on the paper and the knowledge side. not on the execution and the life side, there might be a gap of what are those tools that you can use. Right? One example, when we did a lot of studies in terms of the micro industries, yung mga sastre, bakery, mga informal, mostly informal segment, they're saying is, hirap na hirap sila makagrow past being informal because sabi nila, ang hirap nilang i-manage visually yung pera nila. Ang pera kasi nila, I'm not sure, maybe teacher you can say kung medyo may alignment, no? Pero kasi na isang micro-entrepreneur, pag pumasok sa bulsa nila yan, halo na yan, personal at negosyo. The ability to split your funds between personal money and business money allows you that higher level of intelligence to manage your funds. And that's the cash management side, cash management literacy. And without the proper tools to do that, wala. Ang problema, yung sa business side naman, mahal yung mga ganong tools. So you have to be able to, so what we did in Union Bank where I was, my previous life, was we created the tool to help the micro-entrepreneurs to have a small ERP system. Huwag na natin complicate, to have a small, para sa tawag namin, business calculator. The same now we can probably do for the teachers. As we roll out more and more of our financial inclusion, financial education, we call it fancy nga, pera-perasyon. Right? Kung may mga teachers dyan na naka-attend sa CSB, pera-perasyon, I guess the next step of that is leaving that program, handing over a financial tool, diba? That the teachers can use and monitor.
Thank you, Sir JP. And it's not just in financial literacy that teachers are looking for tools. I am from the Learning Development and Management Office, so we do a lot of teacher training. We are the teacher training arm of Innotech. And every time that we talk to our teachers and ask them about their learning needs, it's not so much about the knowledge or the skills, but rather the tools that they can apply in their everyday context. Mga practical tools, resources, mga kits. Ito po talaga yung hinahanap ng ating mga teachers. So, thank you for that, Sir JP. Teacher Rellie?
For me, yung what shapes financial literacy, isa doon yung kasi sa education. Ayan. So sabi nga po, yung mga teachers, although sabi, more on financial literate, but also most of them, yan, medyo financial illiterate. Alam yung financial literate, kaya lang, they don't know how to manage it properly. Bakit po? Kasi alam naman po natin yung pag teacher ka dito sa Pilipinas po talaga, no? So, malaki po yung sahod natin, pero maraming kaltas. Yes, IS, may loans ka, hindi po nabubuo yung sahod namin. Ayan po. And then, malaki po yung cost of living natin. Tumaas po yung gulay, tumaas po yung commodities. So, talaga po may inflation na nangyayari. So, yun po. So, how do you teach financial literacy kung yung mismong teacher nangangailangan na how to manage their own money? Ayan po. So, yung siguro sa government natin, medyo sana po konting support sa teachers. Ayan po. So, yung iba nararamdaman na namin, pero sana more on support pa po. Ayan po. Kasi minsan bumibili pa kami ng para sa school na dapat hindi na galing sa bulsa namin. Mag-aaral po kami ng MA, ng doctoral. Magbabayad po kami, sarili po namin yun. Pera. Nagkasakit ka, ano po mangyayari? Kami rin po yung gagastos. Manganganak ka, ikaw rin po yung gagastos. Opo. Pero salamat po sa Diyos at naway po ay magkaroon ng salary increase. Ang nilalaban po ng teachers po ay 50,000 increase po. Ayan po. Salamat po.
Thank you, Teacher Rellie, for highlighting that paradox that from the paper we saw that teachers have high literacy high financial literacy levels, but sometimes it's the systemic barriers that prevent the teachers from actually putting into practice what they know. And so I would like to build on what you said and ask this question to Director Santos. So we mentioned in the paper that teachers have high literacy rates, but it's not always that they are able to translate this into actual practice. It doesn't always come out in good financial decision making in real life. So from the perspective of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, what does this tell us? And are there financial education initiatives that address that gap between knowing and doing?
Hirap ng sagutin. Actually, well, of course, sabi nga ni Dr. Ravago kanina, the result is encouraging. And actually, it's helpful. Kasi at least we know that the teachers, educators, maalam sila, they're knowledgeable of the financial concepts. So, next step na tayo, right? Now, we believe actually in the principle of teach what you need to learn. Right? Kasi alam natin, ano ba yung mga pinagdadaanan ng mga tao ngayon? Teachers would know that, right? So, if you know that, and of course, when you do your lesson plans, for example, dun nyo papasok yung mga alam nyo that students should learn para when they grow up, they know what to do, right? But of course, we in the government, for example in BSP, we have to support and help the teachers, right? Again, like what I've mentioned a while ago, we've partnered with the Department of Education. Again, papakita ko lang, para may access kayo, kasi we have various tools that you can use in coordination with DepEd, all right? So, one is we've developed a manual on personal financial management that could be used by teachers. Ito, pang teachers talaga to. So, you can access that through, kontakin nyo si DepEd, Bureau of Human Resources and Organizational Development, or ito yung BHROD. So, you just contact them if you want to have access to this. Kasi we've trained them, BSP trained their trainers in DepEd, and the trainers in DepEd could train you. So you can just request from them directly, and then they will just siguro have a session with the teachers. Mas maganda sana mas marami pang grupo, di ba? Siguro in your area, you can call them and gagawa sila for your area para naman maximize, by division, for example. Another tool would be, since we've already integrated the financial literacy to the K-12 curriculum, you can also download the materials that you can use for your lessons. So nandito po siya, meron tayong QR code dito. So if you need that, sabagay we will give this QR codes to SEAMEO INNOTECH para they can distribute whoever requests. And aside from that, we also have videos that we have developed with our partners, including the DepEd. Ito po yung mga pwede nyong gamitin during your lesson plans, during your lessons. Pag nagtuturo kayo, pwede nyo siyang maging, di ba minsan meron na kayong mga videos, di ba? Pwede nyo na siyang gamitin. So, siguro you can use these tools for now. And of course, hindi naman madali. Sinabi ko nga kanina, hindi siya mabilis. It's a long-term process, but we need to do it step by step. Thank you.
Sir JP, baka ito na yung tools na hinahanap natin for teachers. Right? Thank you ma'am for introducing us to these tools. Our team can probably also post the link and the QR code in the comment section para dun sa ating mga online viewers so that they can access. Yes, we're both online and in person po. Okay, so it's great to know that there are easily accessible, available resources for teachers that are contextually right for their own lived experiences. Before I move on to my next question, I have a curiosity, Director Santos, about the tools that you presented. How do you measure the success or the effectiveness of these tools? Do you have like metrics or success indicators that you look at? that tell you if a tool or a program is effective?
Since ito medyo, yung sa manual, medyo matagal na, no? I think that was pre-COVID. But for the two tools that I've mentioned, kakastart lang eh. But then, since we are partners with DepEd, we are also doing the monitoring and evaluation framework. So actually, meron nang inapprove si DepEd, but we are still refining it and finalizing before we roll out to the different teachers. And we see the impact. Medyo matagal, syempre, di ba? But we are on it. We are doing a framework for it. And once we have the result, of course, we will definitely inform SEAMEO INNOTECH and we can present the results.
Thank you, ma'am. A question to Teacher Rellie. Na-try po ba natin or aware po ba tayo that we have these resources? Or perhaps there's a need to strengthen, the dissemination of such
Hindi pa po.
resources. Right,
Di ba
right.
po? So, ilo-launch pa lang ata ito ngayon.
Thank you.
To add lang, actually, DepEd issued the memorandum just last month, I think, no? Na parang encouraging the teachers and the non-teaching personnel of DepEd to access BELA. So this will start October. So baka magbabab pa sa inyo sa mga different districts nyo. And then, syempre, we will try to schedule yung mga access dun sa BELA.
So to our teachers, stay tuned for the official information regarding BELA. So this is something exciting, some tools that we can use. Right. Okay. So thank you, Director Santos. Now, to Sir JP, our representative from the banking industry, what role do banks play in strengthening teachers' financial literacy and specifically in addressing the gap between knowledge and practice?
Well, I guess a role we can play is create Carla. May Bella ka na, may Leia ka, may Carla. Joke lang.
Iba-iba. No?
Iba-iba. No, but coming from a bank or a private sector, well, one of our mandates is really not just to create that financial learning, but it's creating the tools to enable the learning. I mean, to activate the learning. One example is, kanina lumabas, it's about how do you save. And then there's also a pillar of investing and protection. But what if you can combine both into one product? It's a deposit account that gives you access to higher rates, at the same time, life protection. Right? And I'm not saying that only us, a lot of the banks already have that. Right? And then from the flip side naman, how about when you start to understand and use behavioral science in terms of lending, how do you now do a more behavioral score in terms of the borrower? By doing a behavioral score, you are able to provide better interest rates, cheaper borrowings to a better type of customer. Now, it will force them to be more disciplined in how they borrow. Diba? Yung mga ganun bagay. So, it's really creating those financial products. Now, what's supposed to be the next level of it is, after you've created those financial products, how do you now create the toothbrush effect with your customer? Yung, paano yun? Kasi kapag nag-open ka ng savings account, kinakalimutan mo na yan eh, di ba? Tuwing sweldo, kung meron akong konting itabi, tatabi ko doon. Pero si GCash, hindi eh. Si GCash, araw-araw, binubuksan mo, tinitignan mo eh. How do you create that kind of behavior to the real banking product, that kind of habit? And why do people open GCash more? It's because there are other things more important to you that is found in that app. So parang kinakwento ko kanina, what if kay ma'am, kay teacher, nagawa ko na yung aking mobile app does not only have your savings account, does not only have your loan account, but actually is able to predict when you will have surplus money and when you will have shortage money. It can also help you budget and manage your expenses, yung outwards mo, by scheduling your outwards accordingly. Gives you your reminders. Right? Para next time na makakuha si ma'am ng 500 sa bulsa, hindi natin pwede picturean yung cash eh. Kung check pwede sana eh, di ba? At least ngayon, makikita mo, immediately when you open your app, excess money sa akin to. Anak, pwede tayo bumili ng bigas bukas. Di ba? I mean, those are the real life tools that I was talking about earlier that now I'm realizing has to happen from the perspective of the private institutions, the banks. And we do have the resources to do that. Right? Kasi para nung unang pasok ko sa CSB, City Savings, sabi sa akin, we are digital. Sabi ko, how? A teacher can borrow money through our mobile app. Okay. Is that digital? I mean, how about managing that money that they borrowed? After I'm a teacher, after I borrow 100,000 pesos, what do you want me to do? Cash it out? Give me a chance to manage it through your mobile app. That is financial literacy in practice na.
Right, Sir JP. There are banking apps that have notifications that give you insights like reminders, something like, it is now time for you to manage your finances, or like, a deposit was made into your account. Parang, and they also show you like, yes, analytics of where you spent your money. Like for example, you spent something on a restaurant, or a clothing store. So it gives you this graph of where your money went. So that's right. It's very, very helpful for us because I think the first step to financial literacy would be awareness of where you are, your own financial situation. So now, Teacher Rellie, I would like to hear more of your perspective. The study found that financial literacy does not always lead to better financial decisions. Do you see this in your own experience or in the experiences of your co-teachers or your colleagues?
Many times.
Many times.
Yan. So that we teachers, we search for extra income for tutoring because nga yung aming finances ay hindi stable. Ayan. Siyempre, pagka isa lang yung nagtatrabaho, mahirap po talaga. Pag teacher ka, sabi nga, huwag kang pumasok. Kung gusto mong yumaman, huwag kang mag-teacher. Ayan. Kaya po, yun nga po, yung sa pagiging teacher, ayan. Kailangan po kikilos kami para magkaroon kami ng extra income for tutoring. Another one yung buy and sell. Other teachers spend their free time nagla-live sa social media. Ginagamit din po namin yung mga FB live namin para mag-sell. Yan. Hindi na po kami nahihiya kasi yun po yung pangkabuhayan namin. Yung iba naman po, they extra doon sa college, yan, nag-extra po sila. Ano pa po, yung iba ay, ayan, naghahanap ng iba ng tutor, yung iba nagba-buy and sell, yung iba naman ay nagbibigay ng product doon sa canteen. Ayan po. Ano pa po yung mga sideline namin na, yun po, for extra income to provide our family needs. Ayan po. So sorry po na booking ko kayo, pero ito po yung nangyayari po sa atin na hindi po sapat yung ating salary, kaya po humahanap tayo ng paraan para mabuhay po yung ating pamilya.
Right. Thank you, Teacher Rellie. And I feel you. It's also quite jarring to me personally that there are a lot of professions that are more lucrative than the teaching profession, when in the first place, there would be no doctors, no lawyers, no engineers without teachers in the first place. So, yes, heard here, Teacher Rellie. Thank you for your very vulnerable sharing. But let's try to flip that question. Can you share naman po a personal example when financial literacy helped you make a good decision?
Siyempre, yung unang-una, pagka nakatanggap ka ng biyaya, inisip mo muna, sisave ko ba to? Hindi. Ang gagawin, pambibili ng pagkain. Siyempre, yung tira, yung isi-save mo, mabubunot mo ulit yun eh. Kasi minsan, pag may sakit tayo, wala na tayong pupuntahan, pambili na ng gamot. So, yun po yung, kaya kailangan namin ng extra income. Minsan yung mga teacher, may negosyo pang iba para po pandagdag. Ayan po.
Thank you, Teacher Rellie, for that sharing. Now, this question naman po is for Director Santos. So, given that financial literacy is now part of the national strategy, what more can be done to ensure that teachers are not just financially literate but also financially capable in practice? So this is aside from capacity building. Are we seeing more promising entry points, perhaps for policymakers, to enhance financial literacy among teachers?
Well, yung financial knowledge is really part of the financial inclusion strategy natin, right? But currently, we are trying to develop a financial strategy for financial education. This would harmonize the different initiatives of various agencies in the government, in the private sector, so mga bangko, mga foundations, Metro Bank Foundation. Kasi minsan, they have their own eh. Alam mo yun, parang minsan nagdodoble, sayang yung resources. So we are now trying to develop with the World Bank and BSP on the national strategy for financial education. Now, again, ngayon ko na yung chance na mapakita yung Bella, right? Kasi this is parang it's a new initiative eh. Even in other countries, wala pa sila nito and they're very open to having one. So we're very proud of this and I hope you try it. Now, we have 9 modules currently in the Bella. So ito na yung 5 pillars, actually ito 9 pillars, ano? So financial planning, 1 module, budget and saving, debt management, basics of investing, fraud and scam prevention, very important, digital financial literacy, para maging confident kayo on how to use e-wallets and digital financial services. Consumer protection, yun yung 5th pillar, yung protection. So ito yun. The PERA account, as what mentioned by Director Ravago kanina, and the BSP's role in the economy so that you will know what we're doing and how we can help you. So ito po yung 9 modules that you can check with Bella. And this is a very interactive platform. May pre and post test, so you will know how you, the knowledge part, how you improved on after every module. And there's a certificate for every module. So, now how to access, there's also a training of trainers module in Bella. So just reach out to us. For us, if you want to be a trainer of these modules, you just reach out to BSP. Now, how do you access Bella? Next slide, please. So ito yun. There are 3 avenues to access it. First is the website. We have a Bella website. Second, there's a mobile app for the website. And it's also in the BSP mobile app. So just open these channels and register to Bella. Kaya lang, ang ano lang dito kasi, of course, there's cost din, ano? So yung registration will stop every end of the month. Alright? So hopefully, when you register, you try to finish all the 9 at the end of the month kasi mawawalan kayo ng access. Because there will be parang new user kayo. So another cost yun. So parang let's give that to other learners. So parang ganon. But actually, if you just continuously do this 9 modules, it will take you 5 hours lang. So if you spread it, 1 month, kayang-kaya. So hopefully you can access.
This is for free po.
It is for free. This is free, 24/7 available. And your phone, lahat naman tayo, siguro may phone na, di ba? So there, you can access. Right now, you can fed there. And then, pag binalikan nyo, doon ulit. Thank you.
Right, so again, that's Bella mobile app and the BSP app. Okay. So now that we're into the topic of like the apps and like the digital tools, I have a question for Sir JP naman po. Because we know that City Savings has been successful in expanding access to banks and banking services by leveraging technology. So in today's digital environment, how critical is digital access as a driver of financial literacy? And perhaps there are some innovations that you can share with us, innovations that you are doing or introducing to make the financing experience easier and better for our teachers.
I guess I'll answer na lang how important it is, right? The importance of technology really is to speed things up and to make things more transparent and reliable. Taking away the manual interventions really makes things better for the end consumer. Right? Ganon. Wala naman akong kalabang bangko dito so I can talk about innovations, what we're planning to do next. Right? So, well, again, everyone thinks that it's all about the mobile app when you talk about innovating, especially in the banking scene. Everyone's about what's the front end of that, right? Mobile app, mobile app. But what people tend to forget is if you have a very beautiful front end and napakapangit ng back end mo, wala pa rin yun. So a lot of the innovations we're doing now is we're on the back end. It's more on the back end. How do we make sure that we are able to approve mom's loan in 5 minutes rather than 5 hours? Those are the kind of AI backends that we're building right now. Process improvements. Si ma'am dati, kung mag-a-apply ka ng loan, it has to be through a paper. May sales associate na pupunta sa school, papel, etc., etc. Tomorrow, ma'am's experience will be, I open my CSB mobile app, I click there, I need to borrow money. I don't even need to look for anyone. One click. Dahil dati na namin siyang customer, all I need is picturean mo lang po yung latest document. That's it. And in 5 seconds, your loan is disbursed. How do I get to? That's the kind of innovation that will later on lead to better financial management, right? Better financial decision making. And hopefully, because when you are in your mobile app, kasi minsan kapag parang nangyayari is, kailangan ko umutang kasi kulang ako ng pera by this time. Di ba? Lagi naman yun. There's always a need that has to be solved. A financial need. But if your front end is able to tell you, you know what, teacher, hindi mo kailangan humiram ngayon eh. Kasi may papasok ang pera by this time. Kung ito lang naman ang need mo, you can calculate my inflows and my outflows. That will be a very huge tool for the teacher, and that's something that we're trying to build in the mobile app right now. Ang kinukuha na lang namin na doon is more of, that's why we're also interviewing teachers, ano yung user journey and yung right user interface para sa'yo? How do you want it done? Ayun, yun. So that's a very big innovation that will happen in our bank soon.
Right, so easier ways to access financial services, but let's also try to flip that because it can be a double-edged sword. The ease of access, right? Because especially in the digital environment nowadays, there are so many online lending apps. There are e-wallets offering promising instant cash, yung mga approve agad, right? No requirements, no documents. There are e-wallets that have, or e-commerce platforms that have built-in loan mechanisms. So it makes it very, very easy for anyone to just take out a loan. And from what we saw in the paper, in the presentation, teachers are financially vulnerable. And often, they fall into debt traps, right? So, what are our thoughts on that? How can we make, it's a good thing that we are able to access these services easily, but how can we make it more, how do we ensure that our teachers are protected, especially if the services turn out to be predatory or unfair lending practices? Perhaps Sir JP and
I'll
then
take
Director
that.
Santos. I think that's something that
It's in Bella.
BSP and
It's in Bella. One of the
right.
there
How
is
to not fall
protection
for
against
scams, right, and fraud.
Yeah, I'm not saying everything is a scam. I mean, again, financial literacy is also understanding how do you pick the right partner for your financial needs, right? Ang kumakapit sa patalim, uutang sa. Ayoko na sabihin, baka may tamaan ako eh. But that's a concept, right? Ang kumapit sa patalim, uutang sa. Bakit? Kasi sila mabilis magbigay ng pera. Pero ang laki ng risk mo as a borrower sa kanila. That's why us na medyo, I guess naman, trusted naman kaming lender, di ba, di ba, teacher? We need to also get to that level of speed as they are so that we can give them a more secured financial solution versus ganun.
So it's the banking industry versus the scammers.
Man, it's a lower cost of lender versus a higher cost of lender. You can put it like that.
Right.
Diba? Saan ka pupunta? 9% o 36%?
Sa
Siyempre
9%.
No one are saying
Saan
important
Yung mga
to
online
distinguish.
lenders are 36%. You think it's not? People think that it's cheap. They say, no, it's cheap. Maganda, computin mo. You think it's cheap because you're only borrowing 10,000 pesos. And they're telling you how much you need to pay back. But if you really do the math,
Right.
you're paying 36% per year.
Yes.
That's 3% per month. Some would even go 5% per month. Akala mo mura kasi 5 months lang. You haven't computed the full year. Lugi talaga.
Because it can be a bit enticing if you see like the loan, the amount you have to pay per month, it's quite small. But if you compute it for like 2 years, 3 years, then dun mo makikita kung gaano kalaki yung extra or yung interest that you have to pay. Right? Teacher Rellie, I think you have something to say.
Ayun nga, kung sabi nga nila, sa bangko ka na lang daw tumakbo, wag na daw sa 5-6. Yung mga teacher naman, takot naman sa 5-6, kaya tumatakbo sa mga bangko.
Example of financial literacy, right? Right? So, I have a few more questions before I turn you over to the Q&A with the audience. For Teacher Rellie again, so this is more from your perspective as an educator. How do you see yourself and teachers in general contributing to the financial literacy of our students? How do we pass on financial
Of course.
knowledge to them?
Siyempre, you need to learn more financial literate before you teach to your student. Kailangan hindi mo pakita sa estudyante mo na wala ka ng pera sa bulsa. Diba? Kasi tinuturo mo, mamaya maano pa sila. Diba, malaman. So, yun po. Siyempre, sa akin po kasi, sa TLE, po kami, Technology and Livelihood Education. So, we do cooking. So, dun pa lang po sa aming lesson, nandun na po yung budgeting sa bibili ng, for purchasing the ingredients. And then, costing, and then yung, po nila, yung paghalimbawa ng sandwich, ayan. So, doon na po ini-integrate namin yung lesson namin. Ayan po. Yun po, isa po doon sa financial literacy. At yung pagsisave din, kung meron kang natirang pera kahit piso, kahit doon mo lang sa alkansya nga po, pwede naman. Ayun po. Sa amin natitira na lang, barya na lang kaya doon na lang sa alkansya, hindi na sa bangko.
Right. Thank you, Teacher Rellie. There are also ways of like teaching financial literacy indirectly or informally because I remember in my undergraduate years, I took a math class which was practical math. And what we were computing in that class were like credit card interest rates, how to compute your Meralco bill based on your consumption, so things like that. So, they're not directly instructing you about financial literacy, but because you see how exorbitant some fees are, you start to realize that you have to be very mindful about your own finances.
Siguro kakagraduate mo lang, no?
Sir, no.
Kasi parang nung ako nag-aaral, walang ganyan. Ikaw meron?
Meron lang po si ma'am.
Ikaw meron, ha?
Oh, sir, meron din si Teacher Rellie.
Meron din po yun, sir.
Baka absent lang daw po si sir. Okay, so
One
one
sentence.
piece of advice.
One piece
or perhaps
of advice.
more. Kung marami, ma'am.
Okay, so una-una, access Bella. That's the
Access
very
Bella.
first.
Step one.
Yes, kasi talaga, una pa lang, first is savings and budgeting. So you would know before you go to the workforce, alam mo na how to, kasi magkakaroon ka na ng salary mo eh. So you would know how to budget it and how to spend it. Right? So that's one. Now, as you move up the ladder, of course, papasok na yung investment. So yun na rin yun. But of course, at the start, you have to know na rin. So ito yung mga stages of financial literacy. Now, gusto ko lang sabihin to kasi this is also for the teachers. If something is too good to be true, wag niyong papatulan. Because of course, kahit sa halimbawa deposit, sasabihin, or investment, ang laki-laki. Check niyo muna. Always double check. Kasi nga, check with if this is a lending company or an investment company, ang pupuntahan nyo is SEC, hindi po BSP. Kasi SEC po ang nag-regulate po nitong mga institutions na ito. So, before you give any amount, kahit 100 pesos yan, sayang yan, check first. So, yun lang kasi doon nagsisimula eh. If you grab something that is fraud, mahihirapan ka nang umangat. So, that's why you really have to be careful in taking on. Okay mag-invest, okay mag-loan, but of course, dapat double check and of course double check with the regulator. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Santos. Sir JP?
One piece of advice, ito in-advise din sa akin to dati nung una ako magtatrabaho. Years ago. Parang hapon lang. Real financial stability is always grounded with a financial foundation. The financial foundation is, sa lagay ko ngayon, kung nasan ako ngayon, magkakaproblema lang ako pag lumubog ako sa utang. At pag lumubog ko sa utang, it's not a cause, it's an effect. It's an effect of because ginawa mo umutang ngayon nang hindi ka kaya, hindi ka handa. So it's the foundation of that. So normally, when I get invited naman to mga orientation ng mga graduating students, it's always thing I tell them. Everyone's asking me, so taga-bangko ka, can you give me a credit card? So I'm not gonna give you one. Kasi atat na atat ka eh, gagastos ka o utang ka. I'd rather give someone who will not use it. Because the financial foundation first. That's important.
Thank you, Sir JP. I remember this saying, I'm not sure where it is from, but it goes something like, financial discipline is empathy for your future self. So yung delayed gratification, right? That's empathy for your future self so that your future self, does not have to deal with financial problems. Thank you, Sir JP. Teacher Rellie?
Yan. Sa piece of advice po sa mga new teachers, ang una sabi sa akin, huwag kang mag-loan. Yan. Hindi naman pwedeng hindi ka mag-loan kasi nakita mo na yung payslip mo, ay, ang laki pala ng sahod. So, na-excite ka. Diba? Kaso, nagkasakit yung isa mong family member, isa kang head of the family. So, what will you gonna do to loan? To apply loan. Kasi wala namang kagad tayong pera na makukuha. So, yun. Hanggang sa wala pang 1 year, maglo-loan ka na ulit sa bank na yon na hindi mo alam na nababaong ka na pala sa utang. Ayun po. So kasi nga, sana nga, magkaroon na ng increase sa aming sahod na hindi na kami nangungutang. Diba po?
Yes.
Ayan. Pero kiniklaim na po namin yon na natataasan po kami ng sahod. At yung Teacher's Day po namin ngayon, salamat po sa 1,000. Akala po namin 15,000 o kaya 1,500. 1,000 lang po yung binigay. Pero praise God kasi sa 1,000 makakabili na tayo ng maraming bigas. Thank you po.
Saka pala ko dagdagan yung kay teacher, no? I think, kung hindi mo may iwasan, ito kasi nakita ko rin eh, not just on the teachers because we serve a huge community even with government services. Kapag hihinap ka ng pera, hiramin mo lang yung kailangan mo. One piece of advice, may nagsabing correct, di ba? Because there are times when I get to interview some of my borrowers in the branches. Para saan po ba? Kailangan tuition ng anak ko. Magkano po ba tuition ng anak mo? 40,000 po yung for the full year. May discount daw pag gano'n. Okay. Ba't umihiram po kayo 100? Sayang naman pwede na eh. Kung ito lang ang kailangan mo, huwag
May
mong
suklay.
ibaon sarili mo. Yun lang. Dagdag ko lang sa sinabi. Ang ganda yung sinabi, teacher.
Thank you. So thank you to our panelists for sharing such diverse perspectives and insights and your experiences. Please, let's give them a big round of applause.